Okay, we're live on YouTube.
Okay, you ready, Denise?
Yes.
Okay, 6 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
I want to call this morning city council meeting to order session. It's November 24th at 6 o'clock. We'd like to welcome all those that have joined us, all those that are going to, may still join us. Appreciate your presence here this evening. With that, we'd like to call on Tony London to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if he would please.
Sure.
Everyone, bring a flag up.
Everyone would please stand and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I'd like to ask Jeffrey Richardson if he'd offer an opening prayer for us.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the day that thou hast blessed us with, and for the valley that we live in, and for the neighbors that we have. We are so grateful unto thee for all that thou hast blessed us in our individual lives as well as in our community. We are thankful for those that have laid the way so that we can be here and partake of the beauty of the mountains that we live in. And we ask as we meet this night that we'll be able to have an open mind. We'll be able to discuss and understand and make the decisions that will be in the best interest of our great city. That we'll be able to understand the need for what needs to happen today as well as what needs to happen for future generations to make this continue to be a place that people want to be. We ask a blessing to be upon those that are first responders that are fighting the pandemic at this time, and any of those that in our community and in our county that may be afflicted, that they will be blessed, watched over, and protected, and that we'll be able to help alleviate any of those needs. Ask a blessing to be upon our military that are serving around the world and their families, and our national leaders, our state leaders, and locally here, our local leaders that will be able to make the decisions necessary to get us into the future. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate that very much. Okay, next on our agenda is a consent agenda. The council has the minutes of the October 27th meeting and the warrants. So as soon as the council is ready, I'll entertain a motion on those minutes and warrants.
Mayor, I've read the minutes and reviewed the warrants and would make a motion to approve City Council meeting minutes of October 27th and the warrants from 10/23 to 11/27/2020.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, motion by David, second by Jeffrey, that we pass and accept the City Council meeting minutes of October 27th, 2020, and one set of warrants as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Let's go by roll call vote. Tony.
Aye.
Jeff Wardell.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Jeffrey.
Aye.
And David.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. We'll accept the minutes and the warrants. Okay, next item on our agenda is public comment session. Denise, did you receive anything for the public comment section?
I did receive 2 requests, but they are actually for the public hearing. So we'll just hold off on those until then.
And they'll go during the public hearing now. Okay, all right, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, next item on our agenda then, number 3 on the agenda is the public hearing. As we go in that public hearing, I'll accept the motion from the council to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Tony, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Tony, second by David, that we go into public hearing. All those in favor of the council, please raise your hand so I can take count of votes. Okay, all in favor. Motion passed unanimously. Okay, we'll now open up the public hearing. This time it opened up for the public to be able to comment. What I'd like to do, I want to read a couple items first, and then as the participants get ready or available, I would like to invite one of you, if you'd like to read that list of items that you presented to the Planning Commission, also sent to us. To start with, I think it was very appropriate that they signed the Friends and Neighbors 400 surrounding area, that you, ladies and gentlemen, got together and talked about and discussed and put in writing the kinds of things that you're concerned about. I do appreciate you doing that. That's why as soon as I finish here, I'm going to have one of you, if you decide among you, if one would like to read those, that would go on record as being presented to us. Before I start that, let me just talk about a couple items that are before us tonight, so we all kind of understand what the task is. As we approach this item tonight, the item of the rezone, that's what it is. It's a zoning change. As far as the map concept, that's not a part of the zoning change. So that doesn't have effect that zoning change. The current zone, as most everybody's aware, is the agricultural zone. And the request is to change that to an R110. The general plan, the verbiage on the general plan is low density residential or single family residential. And within the ordinance, it allows an R110, R112, or R120. Those are all designations within the single family residential. So any one of those 3 are appropriate designations. Before the council, we'll open for public hearing, public comment. Then after the public comment, so everybody knows kind of how this will work, we'll then close the public hearing. And then the council will then discuss and debate and decide what direction they wish to go. So that everybody's aware, these are the options the council has this evening. The council could, and these are no particular order. The council could pass the request for the R110. That would then put that in place as far as the current zone on that parcel of ground. The council could deny the request. What the implication of that would be then the applicant, the landowner or developer could not come back for 1 year and request an R110. However, the applicant could come back and re-request for an R112 and R120 if they so desire. Another option the council has, they could pass a motion for an R112, or the council could pass a motion for an R120, or the council could table it. If there's enough discussion, enough thoughts, the council still wants to do some more study and research, the council could table that with the concept that they would then come back in the next meeting with enough information to make a decision. Those are some of the options available tonight for the council to act upon and take care of. Okay, with that, among the neighbors, is there someone there that would like to read the 10 points? Anybody? All right. I don't see anybody that's interested in doing that.
Mayor, I think that Tim Witt would probably be the right guy to do that. He just joined.
Okay. Mr. Witt.
There we go. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Sorry, guys. I just got to St. George here and was getting out of the car.
It's okay.
Let
What
me
I
pull up these minutes or these bullet points here real quick.
what we talk about, but we should start that. What I did to start with is thanked you as citizens for putting this together and bringing it forward. I appreciate the fact that you provided for the Planning Commission, and also the City Council's had this to look over for a week. So we've gone through it on an individual basis and looked at that. But I think it'd be appropriate for you maybe to read those in so they're part of the official minutes, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. I've almost got them up here. Sorry, it's just taking me a minute to find these on my phone here. Here we go. All right, I've got them here. Okay. Bullet points that we want to read in as a neighborhood, just to voice our concerns. Are one, we're concerned in bringing the additional. It says 30, and again, this is the original, so I know there's 29 home sites. We're concerned that those home sites will create safety concerns for children playing in the area with an increase of 60 to 90 vehicles on the street. That's approximately 400% increase in traffic on 400 West. We also have concerns about increases in general, all the way down to 200 North during peak hours. Before and after school and afternoon rush hour are already kind of a headache there to turn left onto Main Street. Due to 200 North being the main road everybody uses from the Wasatch Shadow subdivision, 300 West, Island Road, Larkspur Lane, and 400 West, Webster Lane, Meadow Creek Way. We feel the additional vehicles may require a traffic light there at 200. And so just something to think about there, something to consider. Only having one way in and out for an additional 60 to 90 vehicles also is concerning. We feel it's imperative to have another way in and out off of 400 West and or the Island Road before development happens. I know there was some talk in the city council meeting, or excuse me, in the planning commission meeting that said, hey, there's a road, sometime in the future that's supposed to be developed. Well, when is sometime in the future? Is that 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road? We'd like that to happen before development. Let me see here. 29 lots just seems like too many for the pattern that's already set up on 400 West. The entire street on the west side of the road currently has 7 home sites. Adding an additional 29 across the street just doesn't seem to fit well with what's already there. Let me see. We want to request that the frontage of the homes is 100 feet wide to match currently what's there for the home sites that are already on 400 West, just to kind of fit in. The main concern there also is just keeping the home values up in that area. We do want and we do request that zoning be changed, or not changed, but approved for R112 or R12 or R20 only, and not the R110. We feel the R110 does not fit in with the area. One of the concerns is the animals, right? A lot of people down 400 West, down in the surrounding areas, do have animals in that area, and we don't want at some future point to have that zoning changed because R18's already in place or R110's in place, and have to change that and have the potential to lose those animal rights. We also request total home size to be a minimum of 3,000 to 3,500 square feet in an effort to keep up current home values. And we would like to see the home exterior materials be made of similar materials that are already being used in the area. We'd like to see sidewalks put in. There are lots of kids in the area. With the development going in, right? We have no problem with the development going in. It just depends on how many homes. The issue is how many homes do we feel like would fit there, would serve that area well. But there's a lot of kids already in the area, and adding more homes to that area, we feel like a sidewalk would be imperative to put in down 400 West on the east side of the road, as well as all the way down 300 and Island Road there for the children to walk on it before and after school. And then we would like to ensure that the infrastructure is sufficient to support the new neighborhood. Water, sewer, those kinds of things. I know a few years ago, sewer was an issue. We'd like to make sure that these things are supported. Fire hydrants. Is there really enough pressure in the fire hydrants to feed all of Island Road, all of 400 West and the new development? Those kinds of things are our concerns. That's the bullet points there. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, appreciate that. Appreciate those. And like you mentioned, the council's had that information for several days now. The planning commission had it. They look through those and understand, at least read through those and have a feel for what you're asking and what your thoughts are.
We appreciate it.
But now for further comments, this is a public hearing. So further comments, if anybody would like to comment, unmute yourself. Or if you're more astute, you can go into the, raise your hand and Denise or Ty will unmute you. If anybody else like to make any comments, you're welcome to do so at this point. Okay, Ron, Denise, can you unmute Ron?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I appreciate also, Tim, you're mentioning all that. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. My wife and I are new to Morgan. We absolutely love, the town. It's very similar to the town that we grew our kids up in Oswego, Illinois. We've been here for about 2 plus years now. A little bit about my background, just so that the council would understand that I have both an undergraduate and graduate engineering degrees. I also, and very importantly, I've been in your shoes, the board members. I served on the village board in Oswego, Illinois. And at that time in the early 2000s, Oswego was in Kendall County. Kendall County was the fastest growing county in the United States. So I understand the challenges, that we are going through as we start having, these growth, spurts for sure, and the decision process. Tim had mentioned most of the things I wanted to mention. In your consideration in reviewing the rezoning request, it was mentioned that the homes on 400 West are all of the 500, 600, 700,000 and half acre to just short of an acre, size. One of the thoughts that came to my mind, as I looked at meeting the homeowners or the property owners requirements as well as mine, and the homeowners on 400 West, was to possibly eliminate the 3 exits onto 400 West, somehow combine that with the extension of 400 West going down the road, and in doing so, make the homes that are on 400 West face 400 West, and be similar, as was mentioned by Tim, in material and in size, thereby protecting your existing residents of the 7 homes here on 400 West. The density behind that front row, could more transition to the densities that are being developed currently, toward the east. I think that's the main points that I wanted to I wanted to share in addition to echoing Tim's comments, but I thought that would be a reasonable approach to transition the development into the 400 West properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Anyone else?
Ray, just a couple of housekeeping. Let's have everybody state their name. I'm not familiar with all of the participants before they speak.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
I'm sorry. I don't think I'm muted yet, but my name is Ron Weilert. My wife, Jerry, and I live at 583 North 400 West.
Thank you, sir.
And anyone else who wish to speak in the public hearing?
Mayor Dan Dixon has his hand raised.
Okay, Dan.
Thank you, Ty. Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Dan Dixon. My wife is Diane. You probably knew her as Diane Kerrigan or Diane Call. We moved here to 400 West about 12 years ago from Wasatch Shadows over in that area. And we love this, and we wanted to move here with the desire to have open spaces. And we've enjoyed that for the past 12 years. If I were in your shoes, these are the things that I would be considering. Number one, the safety, including fire, emergency response, etc. Second, I would look at the infrastructure and say, is it what we need to support this new subdivision, including the ingress and egress, 2 ways in and out. And third, do we have the adequate traffic study? What will be the impact if this rezoning were approved? I trust that others will probably voice concerns over these items. And so I'd like to focus my comments on another point. We have horses, and some of our neighbors have cows, sheep, chickens, and horses as well. There is a rural feel to our neighborhood, and we love it. From the Morgan City General Plan, page 14, it says the following: one of the Morgan City's most desirable and relished features is its rural lifestyle. Open fields and animal agriculture are integrated into the city, which gives Morgan its unusual and unique atmosphere. Its residents cherish this unique lifestyle. So the general plan, which was written about 21 years ago, as I calculate that, probably needs to be addressed before any other long-term decisions are made. Designated the area in question for rezone as that low density, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, 0 to 5 lots per acre. Yes, we can see that there is an area zoned R18 that borders this subdivision, but in practice, it's actually closer to a rural designation. Maybe it needs to be rezoned. Many of these lots are 1 acre. The area across the street on 400 West is zone R120. And in practice, though, the lots are probably generally double the designation. Here are some data points to consider. And to help demonstrate, Denise, if you could, would you be able to share a screen of the image that was in that packet? I believe it was on page 23 of the 32-page agenda. So while she's getting that, this is the thing I'm looking at. Y'all have that so you can review it? Denise, are you able to share that okay?
Well, I have it up, but I can't get it on the screen. I haven't done this before, so
Do you want me to share it, Denise?
can you do that?
Show me again the page that you were on, because they're not.
It's page 23. It looks like that. It's like a little overlay on the map.
Yep. So.
Perfect. Thanks, Ty.
I need
Okay,
some
so
lessons.
if you look at this, you can see that the wide area, if you'll scroll up just a little bit, Ty, so we can see there you go. This wide area in the middle, that's the proposed subdivision. And the orange and brown on the sides are the existing homes. So consider how the lot sizes appear to be much larger on both sides of the proposed area. If we want to have a smooth transition, we won't accomplish it by putting in 29 smaller lots. We would attempt to match the surrounding area with a dozen or so similar sized lots. So when you look at the 29 proposed lots dropped in here, now you realize that's just a concept, but it just doesn't look right. Now let's consider some data points. I looked up the acreage of each of the lots that share a border with the proposed area for rezoning. If we start at the top left, you see 513 in orange. That we won't consider that because that's the city well. The next one at 521, that's Cody Howe's place. And if we kind of move down and to the right, we come to 591, which is Brett Bocut's. So we add all those. Then if we come around the corner there to 381 Island Road, and that's in the more of a yellowish color here. And then you come down the Island Road and it makes that little dog leg to the right. We're on 300 West, all the way down to 399. 399 borders this property too. Okay, so what I did was I took the total of all the acreage for those homes, and then I calculated an average lot size. That figures out to be 1.10 acres. Now, if we look at the proposed subdivision, it's just over 11 acres. We deduct 20% of that property for the public right-of-way. The latest concept map showed 29 lots, so the average lot size would be 0.3 acres or 0.3 of an acre per lot. If I calculate that, 0.3 goes into 1.1, 3.5 times, just over 3.5. That's 3.6 times the density of the existing lots that share a border with the proposed area. Again, that's over 3.5 times the density. That is a dramatic difference to have the high density lots in the middle of open spaces. That does not allow a transition from existing lots in the surrounding area. Now, I'm not opposed to a rezoning request, but it should be done wisely with safety and infrastructure in mind. It should also be done to match the surrounding community. If the zoning needs to change, it seems another designation would be in order. R1-10 is too high of a density for this area. In fact, it's 3.5 times too high. I strongly urge the City Council to deny the zoning change to R1-10. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Anybody else? Floor is open for another participant.
Yeah, am I still on, Mayor? Ron Weiler? Okay, now I guess I can speak now.
Go ahead.
Okay, that map, I just wanted to emphasize to the council and to you, Mr. Mayor, if you look back at that map that Denise put on, 3 streets coming out on the short 400 West is so impractical and impactful for safety, for property values, etc. And I just wanted to emphasize that if you look at that picture, it makes that pretty much not feasible at all. Thank you for putting that back up. You can see the three streets come out in that short stretch of 400 West. I just wanted to emphasize that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think Lance Johnson's home, or that's the name. Denise, could you unmute them? They have their hand raised. Okay.
Hi, this is Brianne Johnson. So Lance and I have both grown up here our whole lives, and as we've watched things develop and change over time, kind of our concern is, I mean, this is why people move here, is to get away from the city, right? We've all talked about this. We just wanted to kind of second that, you know, you move here because it is more of a rural place, and we start putting in these really small lots. You know, our schools are already trying to pick up kids and drop kids off because we're not allowed to bus from where we're at. We're too close to the school. Yet I will not let my kids walk because there's no sidewalks for them to walk along. Island Road is a narrow road. And then to add that much more traffic on, the whole feel of this community, we'd like to see it stay as rural as possible. No one's against people developing their property, but it would be nice to have the bigger lots because, you know, then there's all this open space right behind us that the Harding zone. And if this were to get approved as the R110, that just opens the door to that many more homes behind us, which is twice the amount of property or more. And like I said, it's nice to be surrounded by animals and the open fields and things like that. So it'd just be nice to have the bigger lots that are approved and not the tiny ones, when all of us would like to have more space around us. That's all.
Thank you. Appreciate your input. Who else would like to speak? Anybody else got a point?
Mayor, this is Blaine Freestone. Can I have a second?
Go ahead, Blaine.
I just want to point out that I don't think the topic of Graceland has been brought up here either. The amount of traffic that is generating lately needs to be taken into account here as well. There's a lot of traffic, and be honest with you, they don't slow down at all. That's a whole nother conversation that needs to be dealt with, but that needs to be taken in consideration as well. Thank you.
Blaine. Anybody else? Public hearing still open? Okay. Cody? Yeah, go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My name is Cody Howe. I currently live on 400 West, and definitely not opposed to a rezone. However, just to echo some of the things that have already been discussed, is primarily for me around the safety, because as Brianne mentioned, we currently are not far enough away from the schools for our children to be bused. And so adding less, without having two ways to get in and out of 400 West, the more homes that you put into that area, the more likely, the more children you're going to have in that area, and you're going to increase foot traffic potentially of kids trying to get to and from school because they're unable to be bused. Currently, like I said, we aren't within the distance that the district has set as being appropriate to be bused. So that's 300 West and Island Road, especially on that corner where it transitions from 300 West to Island Road, is quite narrow. It's quite sharp. There's no sidewalks. There's inadequate lighting. There's hardly any street lights along in that area, and so it can get, it can be very hard to see people as you're making those turns. And the higher density, number of homes we put in there, potentially the more kids we have in there, and the higher the risk of somebody getting hurt without the adequate infrastructure with sidewalks and lighting is there. So I'm asking that the council consider a less dense rezone to an R120 instead of an R110. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Cody. Anyone else? Anyone else got a comment? Okay. I'm not seeing anybody. Ty or Denise, are you seeing anybody raise their hand or commenting? Okay,
I don't, Mayor.
okay. If there's no one else, then I'll ask the council to make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by,
I'll second it.
okay, motion by Tony, second by Eric to adjourn the public hearing. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, proceed to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, Jeffrey, okay, all right. Motion passed unanimously. Public hearing has been closed. Okay, now we're open for discussion from the council. Once again, council, we've gone through the kinds of motions you can make, the kinds of things that are available. Floor is open for you for discussion. You want to discuss some points. You're welcome to bring up, ask questions, or whatever direction you want to go. Council, your turn. Tony.
Mayor, there was quite a bit of discussion on traffic and increased traffic down on the Island Road. Do we have any studies or science that indicates where we stand as far as traffic on Island Road? Have our engineers looked at it, or do we have any idea of where we stand based on studies, based on actual studies?
Are you asking me, Tony?
Yeah, Ty, Ty.
So we did, if you remember when we did the impact fee study, and we lowered the impact fee for roads, because the study came back as we have plenty of capacity. So it doesn't mean our roads are in good condition. It's just the actual capacity of the roads that we have are adequate for quite a bit of build out. I don't remember the exact number, but one of the challenges we have is we have really wide roads, and then some of those congestion points, we don't have any traffic control measures in place. We don't have turn lanes. So we haven't even started implementing a lot of the other thing that help with traffic flow, if that makes sense. So right now, you hit a certain point and it's not the widening the road that's the next solution, it's traffic control measures. So capacity is based on the width. So.
Further discussion, further comments from the council.
No, we had this discussion with Pheasant Run. Currently, we're allowing a subdivision to be built. How many homes to be built in that subdivision without a second access? What is remind me what our ordinance allows there? Ty?
So I don't remember what the specific amount was because it's based on proposal. So we don't have an engineering review or anything based off of this subdivision, but that phase one did not require an access, but it's a combination of the length of the length of the road, and the number of homes per road. And so that entire subdivision only required emergency access. It didn't require a full second access, but every project gets evaluated independently, and that was in the International Fire Code. So I'm without the staff comments of a specific review, I can't answer the what's allowable, right? So we're not talking about the concept plan, and we haven't gone through a review of what's proposed at this point.
Further questions, council? Thoughts? Ideas?
I'll comment, Mayor. It's clear there's two sides to what we're talking about. We have a landowner that wants to maximize the value of his property, and I think that's should be expected. I mean, how many of us have ever sold a vehicle and haven't not expected to get the maximum value for the car? At the same time, I had a chance to listen in on the last public hearing as well as this one. And it's clear that neighborhood has multiple concerns. I think we've heard the neighborhood loud and clear, and I think we have to respect the public hearing side of things also. In my mind, it appears there's probably going to need to be some concession on both sides. But we've had a couple more items come up tonight that I hadn't really considered before. The 10 items that we just read, I think some are worth paying attention to. In that light, there's enough moving parts that I just personally would like additional time to work through it.
Mayor,
Tony?
I realize that Dave and I have sat through, what's this, Dave? Probably the third meeting concerning this, where our constituents, Eric and Jeff had not had that opportunity up to this point. I'm wondering the same thing, if it wouldn't benefit us to give them a little time to think this over now that they've heard some public comments as well, and think this through a little longer. That's just a thought that I'm having.
You're a council member.
Hey, Mayor, I'll take my stab at it. You know what I do appreciate tonight is the political process in this deal. Appreciate that, people can come voice their opinion and call their council members, talk to them on both sides of this issue. It really is what this is made for, is being able to discuss our concerns on both sides and hear both points of view. So I do appreciate that tonight. As I've thought and pondered on this, what to do tonight, this is definitely one of those kind of complex issues that, you got to put some thought into. I do think there's a bunch of valid concerns that we definitely need to address. And, having an open mind and trying to figure out what to do, I think maybe hinting towards the same way Dave and Tony are, of maybe tabling this and think about this for a little bit longer and seeing what we can do to address some of these concerns, and see if we can get to the right decision and do that tonight.
Jeff or Jeffrey, any input, questions, thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'd like to table it. Now I've heard the different concerns and stuff on it, Mayor, so I'm kind of in favor of tabling it right at this time for a bit.
Jeffrey, any thoughts?
I like Eric have appreciated the whole process, and I'm very mindful of the protect the landowner as well as to protect us as a community. Our job in the city council is to make sure we're making the best decisions for the future of our community, and through the whole process, I've kind of caught coming off the planning commission, the back end of it. I didn't hear anything about it till I got a phone call. I didn't know what was coming, and there's something to make sure we're lining everything up in the correct order that I can sure appreciate. But with that, I think I would like to be able to wrap my head around, and I've made the drive out 400 West. If you've seen my car coming, I'm not the creeper. I've just been trying to drive out and just wrap my head around with where does the transitions need to take place is we come up with a new master plan and to set zones. There's a place for all of it, and I'm not sure right now. I would like a little more time to just wrap my head around and visit some additional maps as I've played on Google Earth and looked around to see for me where is a comfortable spot to small denser housing up into the more agricultural side. So I can also I would appreciate a little more time to let this percolate around in my head.
Any further questions? Anything else council wants to discuss? Items you'd like to bring up or mention at this point? You're welcome to do so.
This is just thinking here, spitballing here. I guess, Gary, this probably question is for you, but I think it was Ron who mentioned this. Hypothetically, could you set dual zones up in a piece of property like this? Could you have bigger lot size out on the frontage with smaller lots in the back? I mean, is that something that could be considered, or is that not feasible?
No, you could mix densities either through a development agreement. If the logical separation of zoning districts was available, you could actually do that as well. I'm looking at the parcel and I'm thinking maybe.
I realize that it all have to either be R110, R112, or R120.
Right.
Correct?
So then you'd have a development agreement that would mix those, or you could actually do a cluster development, or you've got a number of options, but those are good to look at once you got a project in front of you where they would like to develop in that manner.
Isn't that the key to it, Gary? We'd have to have a pretty solid plan in order to go some mixed development. At this point in time, we're still looking at conceptual layout of how this may look. We don't even know for sure really how this would all come together, do we?
No, that's a good point, Eric. Very good point. And the point is that tonight you're looking at whether or not this zone is appropriate for this parcel of property in relationship to where it is, in relationship to traffic. You're looking at traffic. That's a good thing. That's a good question. I think perhaps the Planning Commission was faced with that same question, and it would be good to get input from staff on that issue, to be assured that you've got adequate facilities. And there's several questions that you could have answered in the future, by staff regarding adequate facilities, the adequate access, and surrounding uses, that type of thing, and whether or not you could mix the densities. I think the mixing of densities is going to come clearly when you've got a plan in front of you that makes sense, that is actually there. But today what you're looking at is just whether or not the zoning makes sense. The R110 zoning makes sense for this location. I didn't help, did I?
Good comment.
Any further question or thoughts from the council?
Mayor, I think spending some extra time to get it right is important. I think it's hard for the council to make a decision versus maybe the parties involved, in that we don't have the same information and probably the same degree of emotions and so forth. And maybe that's a good thing in doing so. But I just like to comment, in the entire process, I've appreciated the respectfulness and civility of the participants, and would add, I particularly was impressed with Ron, your comments in saying here's some possible solutions. In that light, if anyone, if we do extend the time, if anyone had other ideas that could be potential solutions, I'd welcome them.
Anything else from the council?
Mayor, I understand that this, we're not talking about a concept here tonight, and we're not talking about concept approval. That's a planning commission responsibility anyway. But I don't know how the other council members feel, but it's pretty difficult for me to make an informed decision, and I'm really not quite sure what this concept may look like. I don't know if anyone agrees with that or not, but for me, it's difficult because I got something, here in front of me that's fairly black and white, but for me, there's a lot of gray there as well. So is it wrong to, at this point, at this stage of the game, to request some type of maybe a concept that's a little bit more substantial? Or I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, or just it's difficult to make a decision based on what we have.
That might be, Tony, if you don't know what the zoning is.
Pardon, Dave?
Say that might be hard if you don't know the zoning. I mean, you'd hate to spend a lot of time and effort in a plan and then find out zoning's different than what you anticipated.
That's true. That's very true.
Okay, while you're thinking for a minute, Denise, let me know that the reps have raised their hand, would like to speak. The public hearing is closed. I'll allow the reps to make a comment if they'd like to.
Mayor,
can you hear me?
Can I just recommend that you open the public hearing to let the reps make the comment and then close it again after you've, in case there's some additional response.
Okay, even though we've closed, okay, that's fair enough. Council, I'd like to have a motion to open public hearing again.
I'll move.
Second.
Moved by Tony, second by Jeffrey, to open a public hearing for comments dealing with the rezone of this proposed property. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, unanimous, motion passed. Okay, public hearing is now reopened. Mr. Rupp, you may speak.
First of all, let me apologize. I didn't understand the procedure. I thought that, anyway, I apologize for requiring you to reopen the public hearing. First of all, on the issue of going with the number of lots, having to redo the concept plan has presented some challenges along the way. We ran into one with the Planning Commission last week, in that some of the frontage drawings were wrong. And when those were corrected, it actually reduced the number of lots. And so there's a lot of variability in that, as well as the permeable soil calculations for the retention pond, for the storm drain and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to come to you with something more concrete without, as Dave mentioned, having the zoning in place. Also the one thing that it's my understanding that if the zoning is in place, then the development agreements can be based on that zoning, which would then bind the developer. We're not interested in being the developer. We're just interested in getting the zoning changed so that we can sell the parcel. And then the last thing that we would ask of the council is if you do decide tonight to table it, then we would appreciate you coming back and telling us what it is you want, or what it is that you expect, or what it is you think will work, because we feel like we're dealing with a moving target, that every time we come, we've got something a little bit different to deal with, and we're not sure where to go next. And finally, on the zoning, the transition, if you look at the zoning map, and perhaps Denise could bring in the zoning map up, there is the only R120 zone parcel in the entire city, except for one small piece over behind Seth Dawson's place, is from 400 West to, I think it's called Meadow, the back of the property is along Meadow Creek Way, is it? I think. And so it would seem to me that to facilitate a transition with lot sizes something less than R120 would be a reasonable request. Thank you for bringing that up. So if you see there on the left hand, about the center of the screen on the left hand side, the R120, which starts at 400 West and goes through Webster Lane, and well, anyway, you can see where it works. So we feel like that could facilitate the beginning of the transition area for the actual zoning of larger lots, especially given in consideration with the entire Island Road is currently zoned R18. And so with us requesting R110, and in fact, even conceptually, we have many of the lots are actually larger than the 10,000 square feet minimum for R110. Oh, and then the final comment that I will make is, Denise, do you have the master street plan?
Ty, that's on that USB on a file called Maps. And then it says Master Street Plan.
So if you notice down in the, it's almost the bottom of the screen, in the center bottom of the screen, there we go. That's a road that comes from Pheasant Run, or a proposed road that comes from Pheasant Run over to 400 West. So if there are, so anyway, that's the city's current plan for 400 West. And anyway, we just wanted to make sure that that was taken into consideration, that's part of that plan. And the red line in the middle of it indicates that the sewer has already been laid across that agricultural area and to the end of 400 West. Unless the council has any questions for us, that's all we have. Assuming you have the letter from the fire marshal on the International Fire Code issue, which I'm assuming came in the packet with everything else.
And the gas available.
It's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rupp. Since the public hearing's open, would anybody else like to comment at this point? I'm not seeing anybody. Tired and needs to use anybody. Okay, I'll entertain a motion from the council again to close this public hearing.
Steve Wynn did raise his hand.
Moved by Tony, second by David to close this public hearing. Any discussion on the motion? See, now we'll proceed to vote. Council, please raise your hand so I can see your vote. Those in favor? Okay, unanimous, all five unanimous. Okay, motion passed, this public hearing is closed. Okay, now it's open again for the council to make some discussion or questions, or if you're ready for a motion, we can go to a motion. Let me mention a couple things while you're thinking. I mentioned before, I'm just go through the options we have and just a couple of caveats. Again, the zone general plan suggests this area low density residential or single family residential, of which 3 zones meet that criteria. It meets the ordinance. It's legal to zone at R110, R112, or R120. All three of them meet the ordinance. So motions could be leave it at R110. You can make a motion at R112 or motion R120 or table it. Those are some options. Another option, you could deny the request of the R110. If the motion is denied, then that means the R110 proposal cannot come back for 1 year. The applicant could come back with an R112 or R120 if the applicant so decided to. If the council should decide to table this motion, I think the table would be for the council to do their own due diligence and come back with a motion. I don't think that to just table it is any statement to the applicant to come back and revisit and rechange it. That's not, in my opinion, that's not what table does. Table allows the council to come back with further information or further thought process or give you more time to think through it. Some of you mentioned this past week, the first time you saw it, it's a heavy decision. If you want more time, that's appropriate. So if you want the applicant to come back with a different proposal, then you would just flat deny the R110, and that puts it back in the applicant's lap, come up with something different. That's my opinion as far as what the results would be based on those various ones. So council discussion, thoughts, questions, input, or we're ready for a motion.
Mayor,
Tony?
I will make a motion that we table ordinance 2025 at this time to give city council a little more time to study this issue.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Okay, motion by Tony, second by Eric. We table ordinance 2005 to give the city council time for further deliberation on this rezone.
Mayor, may I interject? I'm sorry, but
Please.
did you want to table it to a date certain so that you don't have to re-advertise?
Tony, would you include that in your motion or friendly amendment to pick a date?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Would 2 weeks be a reasonable amount? Yeah, 2 weeks, would that be a reasonable amount of time?
Whatever the council feels they need.
I think it could be tabled to the next debatable opportunity to consider it.
Good with that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that as well, Tony, Mayor, whoever making the motion.
Well, that date certain would be December.
Our next meeting will be December 8th. That's the second Tuesday of December.
Unless the meeting were postponed or not held.
Do I need to make an amendment to that motion or just add that to my motion?
You may add that and then see if the second would accept that friendly amendment.
Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, then my motion would be to table ordinance 2005 until a date certain, December 8th, 2020.
I'll re-second that motion with the date on it.
Okay. The motion now reads, we table ordinance 2005 to a date certain being December 8th, our next regularly scheduled meeting. Any discussion on the motions from any of the members? Okay, seeing no, we'll proceed to vote. I'm going to go roll call vote on this one. Jeff Wardell.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
David Alexander.
Aye.
Jeffrey.
Aye.
And Tony.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. This item is tabled till December, what did it say?
8th, I believe.
December 8th. At which time will be on the council agenda again for the council to make a decision on this zone change. Public hearing will not be held, but public is more than welcome to be to that meeting and observe and watch that meeting. Okay, We'll go next time on the agenda. Next time on the agenda, you're public are welcome to stay if you want. Leave whatever works for you. Next time on the agenda is a consolidated fee schedule. The changes to that. Ty, would you address that for us?
Sure. Sorry, I was multitasking. I was doing the first time in the chat. Well, unmuting myself. So the fee schedule has just a couple of changes. One is from our previous discussion about our regulating of food trucks. So we've just removed that from the fee schedule. That's on the first page. And then another change is on our pump rate. So we have a demand charge after 10. Previously, we had a 10 kilowatts of use, and would like to change that to 5 kilowatts. The usage is the lower rate, the 5.5 cents per kilowatt hour is at a lower rate. So if it's not a heavy user, then that kind of balances that out. And the big one with all the, yes.
That's just like an agricultural pump, or somebody's got a pump on the system, right?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're set up for like a pump only and it's not, like, depend on how their meter is set, that's what that's for.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. And then page 4, where you get into all of the yellow, looks like a whole bunch of changes. And so I'll try and talk through this part. So before, when we did developments, we had this section called staff services, and then we also had like a professional services fee. And what we'd been doing is, someone proposed a development, we would charge them the development fees, just like they're in there. And instead of applying those development fees to the staff time for review, we would only pay the engineer. We wouldn't recoup any of our time for our staff members. And then there was always a balance on the books at the end. And then that balance was used to pay for, it was just fronting the inspections, which the developer pays the actual cost of inspections. And so it wasn't very clean, and we weren't applying the correct fee to the correct purpose, if you want to call it that. So this is just breaks it into a couple of different sections. You can see where the applications are and the associated dollar amount. They're still conservative dollar amounts, but the development services are in order to propose a subdivision, and that fee is whether or not you end up getting it approved. That's just to take you through that application process, but that pays for the development, all the reviews, and the process of going through the planning commission. The next section is professional services, and that is after the review. It's in addition to the review, and that's where the engineering and the more detailed reviews go through. So it breaks that into kind of two sections, if that makes sense.
Any questions on that? Further clarification you want to ask? Things that make sense, things don't make sense to you?
Recognizing that the fees are commensurate to the service, we can understand that. But are these covering expenses, or do we end up with some excess in the fees?
Or does it money? It's based on our staff time, but it's actually less than our actual cost if we took all of our dollar amounts. But one other thing that is in there that is maybe new, as you see, there's a resubmittal.
Mhm.
So right under at the top of the page on page 5. So your first submittal includes like a normal revision, and then you take it back, they make their changes, and then they come back. But if we keep going back and forth and they haven't made any changes, then that allows us for just an extra $100. So we've already done the review, we're familiar with what's going on, but we've gone through a couple of these where we've gone back and forth, and it's almost to the point where we're the one redlining the development, and no changes are being made, and so we're kind of wasting our time. And so it is. So if you look at $500 and we have 6 or 8 people that all are part of that review process, besides Teresa setting up all of the meetings, scheduling everything, and doing all of the document printing, getting the documents to each person to review and that sort of thing. It's reasonable. It's conservative, but we thought before that we were actually charging for that, and we haven't been. So we've never charged a fee for our time to do a subdivision review. We had it on the books, but the way that we did it in practice was confusing, and we were actually applying that to inspection fees on the back end. So and this is more in line with, I think, with what the intent was. We did have a discussion where our building official thought that the bonding amount that we required was something we were drawing from to cover our costs through the whole process, and that's a whole separate. That bonding they get all of that money back. It's nothing we draw from, and so as we tried to just get this cleaned up, that was part of our discussion. So we've worked on this for a couple of months in a couple different meetings. It just cleans it up for us, and it gives us the fee schedule to point to when we take somebody through that process.
Thank you.
Hey,
The question. Go ahead,
I
Jeff.
do. I got one. This is directed to Gary. Is this pretty typical of what you'd see in a city? This kind of fee schedule, Gary?
Yes, it is. You bet. Yeah, they're doing a lot of auditing of fees, and I'm not sure where that's going to come out this year at the legislature. To the point that David was talking about, and that is that they actually made a request of 5 cities, and they were actually going to begin to go through all cities to request that we justify our fees. In other words, we show the analysis that we put together for our fees. They're particularly focused on building permit fees, anything to do with building, and business licensing fees. There's kind of a sense out there that they aren't directly related to the actual costs, but that some cities are making money. Well, the 5 cities they looked at, there were 9 out of, let's see, out of the 5 cities that they looked at, all but 1 had was losing money in their development accounts. So those funds that were dedicated to or came as a result of development were much lower than what they should have been. And the one, because of its speed, the number of new homes and that type of thing that they were producing was actually, they increased, they had quite a significant windfall. So, if you look at those averages, most of us are charging way under what we ought to be charging for the services that we receive. So this is a good change.
And if you look at the fees, it's almost like the same rate that we had before under planning or staff services. It's just applied to the development process, and we hadn't been charging those staff services because it was confusing on when do you apply what. And then just another point, to Gary's, if we ever had a study, because we have departments of 1, it's very impactful for our people to quit doing what they're doing and work through these subdivision inquiries because all the other work stops. So, you know, we have our CASA, which we're not trying to make money, but if we're not charging these fees, then we're subsidizing development reviews by our property taxes. That's basically how that comes out. So.
Mhm.
Further questions, thoughts?
I have kind of a silly question probably. On your electricity review, project is to be reviewed using an outsource. That would mean if we brought somebody in to do that review, that would be that fee. Is that correct?
Yeah. So if they want to use their own, because we charge that same like in what we charge for our power department. Now that we do that as a service, that's in what our power department charges. But if they want to use a third party, then our department still needs to review those plans. So it just, you know, they're paying a whole separate entity to do their whole subdivision design install. That's fine. We don't mind, but we have to then review all of that work, which we normally include in the price that we give them when we do a subdivision.
So a review of our review of electricity or of water or sewer, that is included in which piece of this? Is it
All the other ones are included.
embedded in
Power,
some?
yeah. So just the whole development review and covers everything, but power is not part of that because it's a enterprise fund that does separate. And because we do the actual install, then we just charge them based on the power department's quotes, which is a whole separate sheet based on their development. But if they don't want to use our department, they want to do it themselves, then this is just a thing that says, fine, go ahead and do that. But we still have to review those and say, no, don't put a street light there. You need to, you know, put a sectionalizer box here instead, or you can't cross the road that many times, all of that stuff. So.
Well, this is just an addition if they outsource it.
Yep. And then just one comment I didn't make is under the building permit, you'll see that we added the sensitive lands. So this is something we've never dealt with before, but now I just forgot what that top neighborhood is on Mahogany. Anyway.
Warren 5.
Warren 5 is the upper. So that's part of a building permit. So each one of those homes needs to have a site plan because it's in our sensitive lands. And we have that in our requirements for sensitive lands, but this is the first time we've actually had somebody build in a sensitive land. And so that sensitive land is a site permit for that building during the building permit process, so that they make sure that their slope and their grade and everything is appropriate for that individual lot. And so that's an addition.
Further questions, thoughts, or a motion?
Back just for a moment on the sensitive, wouldn't we need to have our own engineer review that? If they propose, here's a plan, it probably costs us more than $100 though, right?
Yeah, it's 500 is the fee, and it's just based off of the same thing of any site plan review because it includes more than just one. It's not the building official. It's, you know, that's soil types and slope, drainage, all of that. You know, because they have to place their.
Yeah. So sensitive
inspection.
Sensitive will pay 600 instead of the 5 then.
Oh, on the building permit. So under the building permit, it's 500. So on page 5. So on page 5, what it is it's not a subdivision review. The developer's already put in the subdivision. This is when someone builds a home in a sensitive land. It requires a site. They have to come up with a whole site plan to make sure that when they build their home, it's appropriately located, and whatever they plan on doing with their yard has already been approved. And in a typical subdivision, the building permit process just says, yeah, this is a build ready lot. It's all been approved. Go ahead and build according to the standards, but we haven't, on a normal lot, we don't get involved in the landscaping, that sort of thing. So hopefully that makes
Also, on the sensitive land, you have to have an engineer to sign off on the footings and foundation too.
Right.
Which is an extra step.
The geotech.
Yeah, geotech.
Right. Makes sense.
Any other questions, thoughts, or motion?
Mayor, I'd move to approve ordinance 20-04, an amendment to consolidated fee schedule, planning and zoning fees, business licenses, food trucks, and electrical.
Second.
I'm sorry, I missed a second.
Tony.
Tony, okay, thank you. Moved by David and second by Tony. We pass ordinance 20-04, amendment to the consolidated fee schedule, planning and zoning fees, business licenses, food trucks, and electrical. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. See, number C to vote. Since it's a ordinance, we'll go by roll call. Jeff Wardell.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Jeffrey.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
And Tony.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Appreciate that. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 5. Tony, since that's going to come up, planning commission, would you cover that for us again? You sometimes cover those for us, the conditional use acceptance.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So this is Quail Hollow Phase 2. It's conditional acceptance. It's the engineer, Brent, city staff. They've completed the inspections of the improvements in the subdivision, found them to be satisfactory and meet minimum requirements of Morgan City. They recommend conditional acceptance of this subdivision and to start the guarantee period, which I believe is 1 year. There's $58,407.06 remains in the escrow account that represents the 10% of the guarantee. $4,470.75 that remains in the escrow account that represents money to cover the placement of seal coat next summer. And there is $14,601.77 that remains in the escrow account that represents the 2.5% inspection fee. And they need to remain in the escrow account until the seal coat is completed. Then the seal coat money could be released. The remaining money in the escrow account should remain there until the final inspections and are complete and final acceptance can be given. So the total is $77,479.58. And as I understand it, that final acceptance would be in a year from now. Is that correct, Mayor?
Yes, that would be correct.
If everything is okay.
Any discussion, questions, or entertain a motion?
I guess I got to plead my ignorance. Which one is the Quail Hollow over off the freeway? Where is phase 2 of the Quail Hollow?
I believe that's, I don't know my addressing, but I believe that is the second phase of that community next to the freeway.
It's the Thackeray property, Jeffrey.
Yeah, down along the freeway. Okay, that's what I thought.
Any questions or a motion?
Mayor, I will make a motion that we grant conditional acceptance to Quail Hollow subdivision phase 2.
I'll second that.
A motion by Tony, second by Jeffrey, that we grant conditional acceptance for Quail Hollow subdivision phase 2. Can I add as outlined by the engineer? Okay.
Yes.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Since it's not an ordinance, we just go for a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, everybody's up, so motion passed unanimously. Thank you for that. Okay, next time on agenda, city reports. While Ty's putting it together, any from the city council, any questions or reports from any of the city council members? Or any questions or reports? Okay, we'll let Ty.
Oh, I just, here, I was out in my backyard a couple of weeks ago and saw a power pole flickering, and I called Ty, and then Clark called me and they got it fixed, and he called. Just the response. I hope it's not because I'm on the city council, that I hope they give the same kind of consideration. It was great working with Clark. He kept me updated because I was a concerned citizen watching it spark. So kudos and thanks to the power department for following up, and then not just fixing the problem, but then getting back with me and letting me know what the problem was. I thought that was great. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Nod your head if you can say yes. Okay, because I can't hear. My earbuds just died on me, so I can't switch back to a computer speaker. So I can't hear any questions. We're gonna have to get creative, but I assume you want to just my administrative updates. So I just have one because I sent the letter. Just a reminder that we have Hometown Christmas. And here's the flyer. If you can see that. So the chamber's done a great job of modifying the plan for this year. Santa Claus is gonna drive through Morgan as well as Mountain Green, and run his sirens. So just from 1 to 4, and then they're also doing a virtual tree festival, which actually started this week. I think it started yesterday, and they have about 9 trees so far. And then other people are still other businesses are still adding their trees, and so the Santa Claus is the December 5th, so the first Saturday in December as is tradition. I'm still going to work on my speakers here because I can't hear a thing.
I wonder if it's these speakers or the COVID.
Hey, Mayor.
Yeah.
While Ty's searching for his speakers,
Go ahead.
Is there a grand opening on the hotel?
What the plan? I talked to Scott today, and they're hoping they can open on the 4th of December, and he's got Mr. Smith, who's the general manager, going to be here, and they're thinking about opening up, and then after that they call it a soft opening, and after that they'll have a grand opening later on after they get up and going and everything organized. So there will be, that's not right now.
The 4th of December.
That was the day to give me today, and it's the day they gave Ty about a month ago. They told Ty that same day. So that's their target. They're still shooting for December 4th.
So Jeffrey, when Jeffrey kicks you out of the house, you have some place to go now.
Yeah, extra quarantine spot. That would be great.
Okay.
Here, I've got a question for Ty.
You can't hear you, but go ahead.
All right. Can he read?
You're Ty.
Can you read lips?
How's your sign language, Dave?
It's written right here. Can he read that?
I can read it, so I'm sure he can. It looks like he signed off. He's gone.
Oh. I'm
sure he left so he could come back in. Denise is gonna let him back in. Maybe.
There he is. He's coming. There he is.
Okay.
Can you hear us
Find your ears, Ty.
Can you hear us now?
Certainly not.
Maybe not. Don't know. Okay. I got one other item. Get Eric and Denise chip in on this. Ty, come join me. We can hear you now.
Just do this the old fashioned way.
He can listen to you here. Well, just one quick on, we've got, as we proceed with this zoning change, this redoing the master plan, we have a couple openings still on the planning commission. And we've been out in contact 2 or 3 people. As you remember in the past, it takes a consent from the council and also representation from the mayor. Denise indicated we probably want to do it with a ordinance. That was Denise?
Resolution.
Resolution. Gary, you think we need a resolution? Okay, we need to do that next month officially. I want to give you 3 names just think about. If there's anybody else you want to propose, I'm happy to go out and talk to some others. We're in need of 2 at this point. The gentleman we've talked to said, yes, we have, in no particular order. There's Justin Reese, Jonathan Lloyd, and Mark Francis. Those 3 gentlemen said, yes, they would be interested in being on that planning commission. We have 2 current openings there that we can fill. So out of those 3, we can decide on 2 of those. Next meeting, we'll have a resolution and have a process for you to vote on 2 of those. Or unless you want to, if there's someone else you think you'd like to have on that planning commission, send that name to me and I'll ask them as well. And then we can decide in our next meeting who those participants would be.
Could you repeat the names?
Mayor,
again?
who was the 3 again? I didn't catch it.
Okay, sorry. The 3 are Justin Reese, Jonathan Lloyd, and Mark Francis.
Thank you. I didn't catch Justin.
Yeah, Justin Reese, Jonathan Lloyd, and Mark Francis. So we'll have a resolution next meeting. We'll again need to select 2 of those. Or if you have someone else in mind, go ahead and send me that name. I'll ask them as well. We can select between more than the 3. We only need to fill 2 seats. Questions on that? Okay. Ty's here, Dave. He can hear you if you want to chime in. Ask your question.
Hi, just wondering, after everything settles, I think the end of October was the deadline. What was our current percentage, or our participation level, I guess is a better way, in the UAMP or in the carbon free?
So I don't remember the specific. I'll have to go back and look at that, but we were under the cap that we set.
Okay.
But it was right up by the 1.4, so we were under that. But what UAMPS did is they changed the aggressiveness of the plant, and they scaled back and did more of an interim budget, because that was one of the requests from everybody. We felt like we're still trying to do this 720 megawatt plant on the backs of 100 megawatts of subscription at this point. And so they did some scaling back on the project, and we came in. So our kilowatts are the same, but where we ended up was still less than the 1.4%. But I do know it was more than the 0.886% that we were at. So I can just send the actual percentage to you. I just have to go. If it wasn't like an hour ago, I have a hard time remembering.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
This was so last meeting, David. We canceled.
At one time, though, Ty, you had proposed as one of the board members, maybe something around a 300 megawatt capacity. Did that change anything?
Yeah, so they're actually, the original one was a 12 pack, so it was 12 of these independent, and we all agreed to pursue a 6, so half the capacity. But what it does is it eliminates an entire section of building. So it was going to be a 12 pack housed kind of in 2 sections of a building. So we eliminated a lot of capital costs. And they're still running tests. So they started at 60 megawatts per unit times 6. So that would be 360. And the current models are saying that they would produce like 72 megawatts, which ups that amount. But so there's still some variability on which, how productive each unit's going to be, but we are looking at a 6-pack configuration to get started.
Any new participation on the horizon?
Not yet. That's that's something that we were pursuing. So we did a scaled back budget because we don't want to overextend. That's why the whole project got scaled back, not only on the size and scope, but we all voted to not do the full 3 years budget in order to allow some more if we don't have subscription on a certain time frame, then we're going to be talking, but we didn't want to leave it so open-ended without having UAMPS really get aggressive about getting new subscription.
I suspect they're still working on getting subscription.
Yeah, so that was basically at the last meetings where we left it, but UAMPS hasn't had, or the staff hasn't had a chance since that meeting to actually go out and start that process.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Oh, my office is still up.
Okay, anything else from the council? Any other miscellaneous items? Want to ask about and put on? Tony?
I don't think so.
Jeff?
Nope.
Eric?
No, not for me.
Jeffrey?
Nope, I'm good.
David?
Nope.
Denise? Okay, Gary, any parting words for us?
No, just stay safe.
Yeah.
Have a great turkey day.
Have a
Huh?
great turkey day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay out of Davis County.
All by myself, huh?
Yeah, all by yourself.
Does got one more.
So I just have one more. We still have a reservation at Ruby's Inn. It's in December. We haven't canceled it yet, but the way things are going, that's something that as a council, just to let you know, let's get Thanksgiving over the way before we talk about Christmas get-togethers. But keep it on your calendar. But right now, I don't see that we have enough time to reduce the numbers and the amount of weeks left. So
Ty, it'd be a hard sell for me to go. I canceled our own Thanksgiving family dinner for me to go to that and not my own. I'd be in trouble.
So what are you saying about where we rank in comparison to your family?
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, live here in the office, and I'm just kidding. My family's up there above the city as well.
Yeah.
I guess we could get takeout and go eat it in the parking lot. Might be a little chilly.
Yeah. Well, we'll think of something, but maybe what we'll do is just a little parting gift for everybody, and let you enjoy something with your families. I would like to thank your spouses. That was kind of the intent this time, is to invite a +1. And so I would still like to do something because they sacrifice a lot for you guys to participate and make these difficult decisions like you're going through right now. And they get to hear about it at the grocery store and everywhere they go to. So if you have an idea, of something that you recommend, but I'll think of something. I have very supportive staff that have better ideas about gifts and parties than I do. So
great point.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a big smile Denise has got on.
Hey, Gary,
Go ahead, Steve.
Gary, I'm going to stay out of Davis County if that's all right with you.
Boy, I would. We've got it on both sides of us, and I've had it in my own home. So it's a strange place. But what our city is doing, we usually have a breakfast, and what the restaurant agreed to do is do a sealed breakfast for everybody, and they're driving through picking up a breakfast for themselves and their spouse, and they've got the morning to be able to eat that. But anyway.
Good idea. I like that.
Okay.
So show them your gavel.
Anything else?
So it's pretty interesting to be in here watching him with this gavel in his hand because I keep thinking he's going to accidentally hit his computer. That'll end the meeting right there.
Okay. That's all. Well, good luck. Happy thoughts next couple weeks. Think through that, work through that. You communicate with each other, communicate just one-on-one. Try and come up with what's best to do with that rough scenario.
In that thought, though, I mean, what can we discuss without it being an open meeting? I guess I'm a little bit sensitive to that, Gary.
Gary, clarify that, please.
Well, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
You can't, as long as you don't discuss it with 3 or more of you together at once, you're in good shape. If you want to call one of the council, you can talk one at a time. I hate to say that you can't talk to anybody because councils are elected to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you do end up talking to somebody, I would announce next meeting who you've talked to so that you keep that in the open. But remember, the public hearing is closed. And so, you probably won't hear any more public comment.
To that point.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just telling, everybody that was talking to me, I says, well, you guys talk. And I says, the first time I'm going to talk to the city council members is going to be at the meeting. You're going to see us trying to hash this out. And I says, that's the way it's got to be. Because otherwise, if we're talking behind the scenes, then we could get in trouble for collusion, like you guys are rigging this thing. So, I mean, I'd almost just as soon just hash it out in an open meeting than it would be to work it out one-on-one between us all.
You may be receiving a call from Steve Wynn, all of you or some of you, because in the chat box, Dan Dixon, in the public hearing, the second one that we opened, when you were calling for a motion, Mayor, Steve Wynn had raised his hand. And so Ty was saying that Steve Wynn had raised his hand when the second was made. So he may be calling you guys to discuss it, just FYI.
But we could still talk to our neighbors and everybody. I mean, as far as that, we can talk to them. If Steve calls me, that's not a problem. But I just worry about all of us talking behind, to each other.
The one thing I want to caution you seriously about that Tony and I saw happen before in other rounds was council members on say, I talked to this council member and he said this, so we're going to go this way. We think you need to go with us. That is totally out of class. And do not do that at all. Tony and I saw that happen before, and that was not appropriate to do. If you want to bounce ideas off each other one-on-one, that's not illegal, but do not make any kind of motion or agreement between the two of you what you're going to do. Do not do that. If you want to ask questions and thoughts, you can ask questions and thoughts, but do not come up with a solution between any of it. Is that fair, Gary?
That is, yeah. And remember, you will always be quoted. Most of the time, not correctly.
Yeah. And out of context.
My takeaway message from that is I'm not going to tell anybody really maybe how I'm going to vote or what I'm thinking or even hint towards it so that I can't be taken out of context.
That's fine. Okay.
Thank you for that concern. You're great.
Meeting adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Same to you.
Have a good